Wherever you are in your writing career, there's no doubt that you will eventually experience what I call the gap. This is that space that is left behind when the money, royalties, readers, accolades, everything that you were really hoping for from your latest writing project don't come your way. You work really hard anticipating those rewards, and when they don't come, you're left with the gap. Hello, I'm Colleen M. Story, and this is Writing and Wellness. In this video, I'm going to show you how writers get stuck in the gap and how you can avoid it. To explain the gap, I have to share with you a story about my German Shepherd, Morrigan. She passed away a few years ago, but when I had her, I taught her a lot of different tricks. And she got to where if she wanted a bone, which was kind of whenever she saw me, she would go through all of the tricks that she had learned in a series. It was like a medley of tricks. Sit down, lay down, roll over, sit up on her hind legs. So she'd go through this whole series of tricks and then look at me. Like, was that good enough? Is that okay? And if I wouldn't give her the treat, then she'd go through them all over again. My point is that she really wanted that reward. We human beings are exactly the same. We're driven to go after rewards. We actually have a neurotransmitter in the brain called dopamine that lights up in anticipation of a reward and when we get the reward. And that dopamine is responsible for how good we feel when we get what we want. This is the neurotransmitter that tends to drive addictive behaviors. If you're someone who has weight troubles, your addictive behavior is food, and the dopamine drives you. It says you really have to eat this food because it's going to feel so good. Same thing with alcohol, drugs, all of those unhealthy things that we can get into that are addictive. It's the dopamine that drives us. But it's not all bad, because dopamine can also inspire us to do things that are good for us, like work out. When we think about those endorphins that pump through our bodies after we finish a workout and how good we feel, that will drive us to work out. The same thing can happen in our writing careers. We imagine that award that we might get from a contest, or the positive feedback from readers after they get to read our book. Those are rewards that we anticipate getting, and then when we finally get those rewards, that's also why they feel good, is because of dopamine. The key to dopamine's power is its connection to our emotions. Here's an example. When you submit your book or your story hoping for a reward in a contest, usually the reward isn't that big a deal of itself. It's the emotions tied in with them, how you feel when your work is recognized. It's the emotions that are tied into it, and that is the dopamine working. If you didn't have dopamine, you may not feel the same emotional connection to these rewards you're going after. The bad news is when you go after the reward that you're hoping to get and then you don't get it, dopamine decreases. That's why it feels so awful. When you launch a book hoping for the reward of many people ordering it or buying it or reviewing it, and then that result doesn't occur, oh, it just feels terrible. And this is what I call the gap. There's this space between what you expected to receive or what you hope to receive and what you end up receiving. The most common reaction to being in the gap is to try to find another way to fill it. This makes sense. If you can't find a reward in one way, usually try to go after it in another way. I didn't sell thousands of books. Next time I'll be happy if I sell hundreds of books and get X number of reviews. Or I didn't get this much money in royalties, so next time I'll be happy if I can get this much in royalties. And we tend to adjust our expectations, and then we get back on the wheel. We go after these rewards again. Here's a secret. The writers who choose well at this point, as far as what goals they're going to go after and what rewards they're going to seek, are the ones that end up being successful writers. The difference between these two types of writers is that the successful writers figured out how to set smarter goals. They have two things in common. One, they're completely within your control. You're not relying on anybody else but yourself to make this goal come true. And number two, they are realistic for where you are in your writing career right now. So let's talk about goals that are completely within your control. There are two types of rewards that we can go after in life. One is called intrinsic rewards. These are inner rewards that we feel inside. Examples would be how great it feels to type the end on your novel, or what a victory it seems when you self-publish a book that you're really proud of. The other type is extrinsic rewards. These are the rewards that come to us from the outside world. 5-star reviews, number of books sold, that sort of thing. We need both types of rewards in our life to reach our full potential. If we only go after external rewards, and those rewards don't happen for us, then we experience the gap and we're discouraged and we get down. On the other hand, if we only go after intrinsic rewards, we may not be as motivated to succeed as far as we could. In other words, if I don't care about selling a lot of books, getting good reviews, having a lot of people enjoy my work, then I might just sit back and take it easy and write my stories, and maybe I'll publish them and maybe I won't. That's not a very ambitious mindset. If that's what you feel comfortable with, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's not going to push you as far as if you do hope to sell more books this time than you did last time, for instance. So we need both of these rewards. The problem is that often what is missing is the intrinsic side. We don't focus as much on that. We tend to think a lot about the outside rewards, getting those sales, getting those reviews, without thinking enough or valuing enough the inside rewards, the accomplishment of finishing a novel, the accomplishment of putting together a book and self-publishing it. We don't value that as much, and we need to change that. So smart writers, number one, focus on goals that they can control, which means the ones that we've been talking about. I can put out the best new reader magnet possible to get more people to sign up for my email newsletter. I can put a lot of work into it, put something out that I feel very proud of, and when that happens, I will feel rewarded inside. I'll feel proud of myself. That's an intrinsic reward. But we fail to set those. That harms us because when we focus only on the extrinsic ones and they don't come true, we fall into the gap. If we set intrinsic rewards at the same time that we're setting our extrinsic rewards, then surely some of those are going to happen. Even if your book doesn't sell as many copies as you hoped, if you put out a book that you're really proud of, you're still going to have that accomplishment. You're still going to have that achievement. So you're going to be less likely to fall into the gap where all the dopamine just, goes away and you have no sense of reward. If you balance those two rewards, then you're going to feel a sense of accomplishment no matter what, because the intrinsic ones are completely in your control. The second thing that successful writers do is they set reasonable goals. When we're first starting as writers, we tend to think in grandiose terms. I'm going to have a bestseller, I'm going to be published by HarperCollins. And then when those things don't happen, we tend to feel discouraged. We can fall into the gap, especially if we didn't value intrinsic rewards. And what the danger is that we can then just get back on the loop. We can say, okay, well, this book that didn't happen with, but the next book will. The next book will be a bestseller. The next book, will bring me all these readers. And we don't change our approach to how we're going to make that happen. We just think that this time it's going to happen. It's kind of like a gambling mindset. This time I'm going to win the big money. That's the mistake that unsuccessful writers make. They tend to just jump back in the fray and try again without really changing anything. Successful writers say, okay, let me be more measured about this. My last book sold X number of copies. What I'm going to try to do with my next book is sell 10% more copies. And to do that, I'm going to put out a better freebie so I can attract more readers. I'm going to guest blog more often. I'm going to get on several podcasts. I'm going to step up my marketing. We create a goal that makes more sense. Smaller goals achieved are a lot more motivating than huge goals not achieved. So set yourself a reasonable goal and then give yourself ways to get there. Decide what steps you're going to take to actually get there. So in review, if you've fallen in the gap, and those rewards you were hoping for didn't come, there are two ways to solve it. Number one, make sure that you are focusing on intrinsic rewards just as much as you are extrinsic rewards. And number two, don't just jump back on the wheel. Look at what happened, set a goal to do 10% better next time, and then give yourself several ways to go about making that happen. If you do that, you'll get out of the gap and you'll have a much more successful writing career. For more help on avoiding disappointment and achieving success in your writing career, please see my new book, Your Writing Matters. It will help you determine if you truly have a writer's DNA and if writing is part of your purpose in life.